Hello, my friends. Welcome back. My name is Tamitha. If this is the first time we're together, we are going to take the next step in our homemade pancetta journey. We cured it for a week, and I'm going to show you the difference in what we have. This is very wet now. It's been curing all week, and we flipped it upside down and back. You can actually smell it through the plastic. It's quite incredible. And you can see the difference in the color. Look how dark it is now. That is from the curing process. Okay, and the same for this one. It's easier to see on the meat side. So I'm going to show you the next step. It is not difficult, I promise you. This is a very, very doable project, and it's one of the best ones you can start with if this is the first time you're working with cured meats. I'm so excited to show this to you. Let's just get to it. So we have everything all set. In the description box of the video, as always, I have a printable for you that has every bit of the details that you need to do this and do it well. This is not difficult, I promise. The ingredients we need. Now remember, this is cured, and I will link for you the video where we did that in case you didn't see it yet. And of course, in that video, there's a printable as well that takes you through that process. So this has been curing for a week. This is much more firm. You can see the darkness in color. There's liquid in this bag, and that is from the salt pulling liquid from our meat. It creates kind of a brine, and that's what cures our meat. What we have to do now is we're going to wash this off in cold water, and we're going to make sure it is very, very dry. We do not want water interfering with this process at all. So after I wash this, I'm going to dry it. Now, before we get to that, I just want to go over what we need for this process. You're going to need some more spices because every opportunity is an opportunity to make it taste even more delicious. So we are going to use crushed garlic. And when I say crushed, I used a, what are you called? You're all yelling at the TV right now. This thing, a garlic crusher. I don't know. This one is so good that I've had it since before my mother-in-law became my mother-in-law, and she gave it to me 1 year, and we've been married for 25 years. So that is how long I've had this thing, and it still crushes garlic beautifully. There's a name for this thing. I will find it. I will link it, assuming they make this one. This one is the best one I've ever had. It's why I won't allow anyone to replace it. I love it so much. Okay, so we've got crushed garlic. And it has to be because it is a little bit sticky, and that's what we're going to use to hold on our very coarsely ground black pepper. Now, it is important that it is not finely ground. It is very important because we're not just seasoning. This has to be able to withstand the process of drying. Now, one of these we are going to roll and tie, and that's a method, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And the other we're going to treat the same way, but we are going to leave it flat. Okay, so but we want to make sure that what we add sticks. And so we're using the garlic paste, because it's almost a paste, to do that. This particular this particular pepper mill is the best pepper mill I've ever had in my whole life. There is no relation. I bought it myself. This is called Unicorn, I believe. I will link. I believe that says Unicorn, but I don't see as well as I used to. I will find the link for it. This thing allows you to adjust, so you can get from fine, fine, fine to super coarse. And it does it without breaking my hands. I have some issues with my hands. I love this thing. When I'm dead, I want them to throw it in with me. That's how much I love it. So you want to make sure that your pepper is super coarse, just like this. This particular time that we're doing pancetta, we're going to do the very traditional version. Oh dear. Okay, well, we're going to do the traditional version, which is the black pepper, the garlic, and the bay leaf. There was a little bit of juniper, if you recall, from the cure. As we go forward, we are able to make a lot of variety. And when I show you some of the varieties that we can make, you will not believe what we can do at home and never pay those outrageous prices for fancy food again. What you could do if you didn't want to go with just the black pepper, which we're doing today because we're staying traditional, is you could just make a small swap. And this is the 4 peppercorn blend. I love this. I get it from Azure Standard. I'll link it for you if you care. You can just easily swap the four pepper blend here. Okay, it's just a really fragrant, it's a little bit more fragrant. The pink peppercorns add a little bit of a floral note. It's beautiful, but it is not the traditional version. It's a little bit dressed up. If you want to start with the super traditional one that you would buy at any Italian pork store, that's the version we're making today. And the other ingredient that is important is bay leaves, are bay leaves. And here they are, and we are just going to crush them, and we're going to sprinkle them over and press them down so that, again, they're part of the flavoring, but we're not going to grind them or anything like that. These are just going to be very loosely crushed. Okay, and then here we have butcher's twine. This stuff, you want to get good quality because when you give it a good pull, you really want to avoid using one that will snap under that kind of pressure. So be mindful of that. I'll link the one that I'm using, but whatever you have, if you already have one that you like, use that. Okay, so that's quite literally all we need. The next step is to wash our pork bellies. So I've got a sheet pan here just to make it easier for me. And we are going to, very wet, we are going to wash these off and then dry them thoroughly. Okay. So when we come back, I'm going to bring the camera over so you can see what they look like up close after the cure, and then we're going to wash them off, and I'm going to bring you up close again just so that you can have some visual markers for what we're looking for. Ah. It's on my hands. It's on my hands. Okay, let me get the camera. Okay, so this is what you're looking for after a week. When it went in, they were bright pink, they were very, very fresh, and now they're quite firm. That floppiness is gone. This is taking some effort to bend. There are no bright pink spots anymore. Anything that lifts, you can see inside, is cured as well. So this has gone, the point being, the cure has gone all the way in. So now we're going to... I'm not putting that on the counter. There's paper towel there. That probably looked like I just dropped it on the counter. These are the juniper berries. And they really do get kind of sucked in there. Do you see that? See the little dents and stuff? All right. I know that we all try to do our best not to use a ton of paper toweling, but this is one of those times where it does the job better than anything else. Now, when we take this back to our work surface, we are going to be working meat side up, fat side down. So now our pork bellies are nice and rinsed off, so all of that extra salt is gone. We've gotten from it what we needed. I'm just doing a last little bit of dabbing to make sure that there are no little spots, because in the little crevices and so forth, there could be a little bit of water hanging around, and not on my watch. Okay, got these towels on Amazon. It's like a 10-pack or something. I love these things. I use them constantly. I don't know, I'm not even 100% sure, but they're very absorbent. I like them. I'm not 100% sure that's where we got them. If it is, I'll link it, because, I mean, I go through them. They're just very absorbent, which I appreciate. That probably seems weird. Okay. So I want to show you up close. Let me make sure that we're in the screen here. This is what we want when we're talking about coarsely ground. This is what I want. If you've ever had the dish steak au poivre, you want it like this. The garlic, all the way down into a nice paste like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is I've got a fan running, and I'm going to let this dry, just air dry, for about 15 minutes. I just want to make sure every chance to remove, this is about being very, very safe. Remember, we're not using curing, the pink curing salt. We're doing this the traditional way. And because safety is first, we want to follow the rules very, very closely. And so making sure that we are not bringing any extra water into our drying stage is very important. So for that reason, I am going to leave this with the fan blowing on it for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, somewhere in there. Clean up a bit of the mess I already made. And when we're done, we'll go on to the next step. But this is important. Please don't skip this step. The next step is also technically not the official way that this would have been done hundreds of years ago, but it is the way it's been done for a very long time at this point. If we were doing it 100% the traditional way, we would determine that if we were doing it 100% the traditional way, we would determine that our pancetta was finished based on how it feels, the weight of it in our hand, the texture on the outside, and I've done it that way for many years. It does work, but it's something that if you're unsure, if you've never done it before, it can be a little unnerving. The more accurate way to do this, and once we get into curing meats on a more regular basis, again, you need a scale, because what we're doing in the drying stage is essentially going to let more liquid be driven off. So what you want to know is how much did this weigh after the cure, and what we're looking for to be in the safe range is a liquid loss of 30%. So it's important that we weigh each piece of our pork belly, and then we're going to make a note of that, write it down someplace where you're not going to lose it. The other thing you can do is you can attach a tag directly to your pork bellies with the weights on them. That's what I tend to do, but I don't know that everybody has the type of tags for that. So I'm going to do it the other way that I used to do it back in the beginning, which was a simple index card. And I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. And I kind of tuck it into the area so we don't confuse which one is which. And it's a very, listen, it's old school, but it works. Okay, so I'm going to weigh in front of you both of these pork bellies, and we're going to write the weight down. Then we're going to do the math, and we're going to determine what the final weight needs to be in the safe zone. Now, that final weight will also be on our index card. That way, as we're checking, as time goes on and we're unsure, we don't have to keep doing the math. We did it once. Now all we have to do is bring it over, weigh it, and see where we are. Okay, so I'm going to go grab the index cards and we'll get this done. So I use colored index cards, and I use a different color for each one. So each one, so they'll be like that on the rack that they're going to dry on, and they will be right nearby so we don't confuse them. One is yellow, one is pink. It doesn't matter what color as long as you have a way to tell them apart. Okay, so we're going to name one A and one B. So I'm going to write flat for A and rolled for B. And this is what you need. So you'll have the before it's dried weight and after the 30% loss. And those numbers are going to go on this card right away. And we'll do this, write the same thing on the other. So, and I use a Sharpie because these cards do end up in the fridge. So this is one of those times, this is not the time to use one of those, something that's not waterproof because, condensation, all those things, just in case we want to make sure that our numbers are not going to disappear. So now I'm going to get a dish, I'm going to put it on the scale, and I'm going to tare. That just means that it's going to set the scale back to 0, even though there is a plate on it. That way the weight we're getting is only the pork belly. Tare, we're back at 0. And our weight, 1,000, whoop, it's still going, hang on. 2,000 grams on the dot. Okay. So we're going to make a note of that. be sure to write what method of weight you did. This is not the time to start off in grams and then try to switch to ounces. That will really cause chaos for you. So we'll set this aside. Make sure the scale goes back to 0. Tear it again. We are back at 0. (1,896 grams). (1,896). Okay. And then we are going to deduct 30% from both of those numbers, and that will be the final weight that will let us know our pancetta is done. So for the rolled one, this is what we'll know that our pancetta is ready to cook with and enjoy when it weighs 1,327.2 grams. And our Tesa, otherwise known as the flat pancetta, will be ready to consume at 1,400 grams. Don't lose those cards. In fact, it's a nice thing to make a secondary note in a planner or something that you keep nearby just to be safe. I'm one person that I like plan A, B, and C. The next step is making sure that we have where we're going to set our pancetta to dry ready to go. Now, in this case, you have two options. If you happen to have a curing chamber, that's fantastic. You can then tie it and hang it, which would be great. A lot of people have something like that, a cold room or a root cellar where it gets nice and cold and they're able to age and cure meats and things like that. That sounds like heaven to me, but that's not what we have available. So what you want to do is have a sheet pan on the bottom and two racks. You want them to be quite strong. And one of the racks you want to be elevated. You want it to be on legs. Why? Because we want to have a lot of air circulation that's able to go around our meat. So there's two racks here. They're nice and clean, and you want to be able to make sure that we're up high so that air can flow underneath, around, all around. So if the rack was down low, you wouldn't get even drying. Would it dry? Yes. But would it dry as evenly as we would like? No. So by having it elevated, now if you don't have a second rack with legs like this, you could use cans. You could just use small cans that will make sure that they're stable and they can hold your rack up. Okay, where there's a will, there's a way. So now we're getting close to our final step. Now, I like to make sure that my cards are not going to be in here. Liquid will start to fall away from our pork belly, and I don't want my cards to get all yucky and wet. So I use a pretty strong tape, and I tape it to the edges. And I did exactly the same thing on the other side. And the side that the card is on is the side of the rack that pork belly will live on. And even as we move things around, check on them, turn them over, all those things, we'll make sure we always stay on the correct side that matches our card. In this case, I've got one rolled and one flat, so it's not very difficult. But if you have two rolled ones or two flat ones, it matters a bit more to know which one's which. Okay, so the next step is we're closing in on the finish, and we're going to take half of our garlic, and we're going to smear it all over, meat side up. Very, very important. Do the edges as well, but we want the garlic to be smeared all over. Next, we're going to take half of our bay leaves, and we're just going to crush them with our hands and sprinkle them. And that garlic paste helps to keep everything in place. And then our cracked pepper. And we want to press down, make sure everything is adhering. A little bit of pepper on the edges. And then we're going to, because this one is going to be the one that we dry flat, we're just going to pick this up and put it on our rack. Okay? Now, the one that we're going to roll. You have to decide how you're going to roll. Are you going to roll this way or this way? I'm looking at it trying to decide what's going to give me the most even result, because that's what matters. Yeah, okay. So we're going to roll this way. Why did I choose this way? Because I have a narrow end here and a wider end here. So if I go this way, I would still end up with a narrow end on one side and a fatter end on the other. That would cause it to dry unevenly. So because of that, I am going to go this way so that it is exactly even all the way across. It will dry very uniformly. So that is what you want to look for. Same thing, we're going to coat with our crushed garlic. Everywhere. Our bay leaves. Just evenly. You don't want a spot where there's tons and a spot where there's none. We just want fairly even. And last, the pepper. This is the traditional flavor profile for Italian pancetta. Now, this is cured. Pancetta is not smoked. One of the big differences between Italian bacon and American is very commonly American bacon is smoked. And we're going to be doing bacon in one of our next episodes, and I'm going to show you our method for curing and smoking bacon. Okay, so we're done. Now here is the important part. We're going to get our string ready. I'm just getting the string started. Okay, so I've got my string ready to go. Let me make sure you can see. Okay, I've got my string ready to go. And we are going to roll tight. What you want to avoid is having a lot of air gap. We want to get this as tight as we can, which is a big reason why it's important that you have good quality string. Because if you're using a lesser quality string, when you go to give it a real tight pull, it'll snap. And that is more than annoying. So as tight as you can with your hands, roll. Get back in there. Now we're going to get it as even as we can. And the tying is going to make it even more even. We're going to take our string. You know what? Let's move this towel. It's going to get in my way and drive me crazy now. So we're going to, excuse me, dear. This is just our spices all over the board. Make sure our spices are in. Seam side down. Now we're going to tie a double knot. Now I am not going to go into fancy tying right now because I don't want to cause anybody to get irritated by that. That's nothing. We can worry about the fancy tying. And what I mean by fancy tying is just being able to do it all with one string. I'm not going to worry about that right now because I want you to not get hung up on something like that. So we'll worry about that later. Okay, so we're coming again. Go through once, twice. That allows it to hold, pull tight, and then go the other way. That just means that it locks it in place. Make sure you can see. Okay. One, two, tight as I can. One, two. And you want to space your strings out so they're only about an inch apart. You want a lot of pressure. Now, want to be as even as possible. So if you see yourself sliding off, fix it. You see how hard I'm pulling this string. A lesser quality string would have snapped over and over again. And it's very important that this pressure not be let up at all. Because what this string is doing is not only evening this out for us so it dries more evenly, but it's putting enough pressure that it's closing in the gap that's inside of our roll. Okay, now you see how tight this is? That's a little bit of fat. I still find that I'm still a little thick here. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do two more as tight as I can. My hands are actually starting to hurt, but it matters enough that I'm just going to suck it up. One, two. Now, if for some reason I couldn't fix that, like I don't like this gap, and this is a really big, this end is just a little fatter, and my hands, I struggle, I'm actually going to tie another. We're not going for a beauty contest as far as my strings go. We're going for as much power as I can get these strings to do. Oh, holy hell. Look at me go. I was actually able to break that string, and that's like really good string. All right, let's do that one more time. One, two. Okay. Lock our pancetta. This is tied to within an inch of its life. This is not coming out of this string. We've got our weights. We're ready to go. Now, this is going to have to sit in your refrigerator. Do you have enough room in your refrigerator to have, oh my God, that's heavy. Do you have enough room in your refrigerator to have this giant tray in there for you? This is important because this whole thing is going to sit in your fridge for about 4 to 6 weeks on average. Now, I can't say exactly for how long because I don't know the weight of the pork bellies that you had, but we already have our finished number. We know exactly the weight when these are finished. And every once in a while, I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you what they look like through the process because they do, it is an interesting process to watch them just dry. You're going to see them, they get smaller, they get lighter, they get darker. They're very obviously going to go through a transition going from these cured pork bellies that started out last week fresh from Costco, and they're going to turn into the most beautiful pancetta. We made them at home. We didn't use any chemicals, and all we need is some a little refrigeration space. Now, in our main refrigerator in the kitchen, we don't have room for this right now, but we do have a refrigerator in the garage. If you have that, if you have an extra fridge, that's great. If you don't, you know, this project really is worth, you know, bumping something else out of the fridge. You know, I don't know what that might be, but, you know, as long as it's not my favorite ice pops, I'm good. You know, those strawberry ones that are 100% fruit and they've got the big chunks of strawberry in them, those bring me great joy. I make my own during season, but off season I buy them and I love them so much. I'm sorry. Anyway, those don't get kicked out of the fridge for anybody, or freezer in this case. But so this is going to go in the fridge. It does not get covered. And what we're going to do to make sure that we do not dry too quickly is we are going to watch humidity. And the easiest way to handle that is to take a little plastic cup or whatever you've got, it doesn't matter, just a bit of water and put it in the fridge to make sure that we don't get case hardening. So what that means is it dries too fast on the outside and isn't dried properly on the inside. So if you just keep a little dish of water in the background on the same level as your pancettas, it will dry at the correct pace. The humidity will be just right. You do not need the fancy curing cabinet. It's nice to have. If someone gave me one, I wouldn't say no thank you. But I'm telling you that I've been doing it this way for over a decade. And this is low tech and it works beautifully. And the people who invented pancetta did it low tech too. So let's not concern ourselves with what we don't have. Let's concern ourselves with how awesome this is going to be. And when you make your first carbonara or whatever it is that you decide to make with your homemade pancetta, you're going to want to hug me. Thank you so much for being here with me. I can't wait to show you this process as we go forward. I hope you do this. If you have any questions, if it seems scary, if I was in some way unclear and left a question in your mind, please feel free to reach out. I want to make sure that I leave you prepared to do this and you don't feel nervous about it at all. I love you so much. I'll see you next time.